All right, I'll call to order the Tuesday, February 6, 2024 meeting of the Wethersfield Planning and Zoning Commission. Clerk Hammer, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Rich Roberts.
Here.
Ryan Allard.
Nope.
Joe Hammer is here. Tom Deane.
Here.
David Drake. Here. Dave Edwards.
Here.
Tony Homicki.
Here.
Jim Hughes. George Oikel.
Here.
Joseph Ercolani.
Here.
Peter Lambruni.
Here.
Paul Thompson.
Here.
All right, thank you. We'll not seat Paul for the first one since you were seated for all the ones last time, trying to keep a rotation going here. We have two items on the agenda tonight. The first one of them is a public hearing. And the way that works is we ask the applicant to come up, identify themselves by name and address for the record, make a presentation on what it is they want to get an approval for. There'll be some back and forth, maybe questions from the commission. Once the commission is done asking questions, we'll give you a break and then invite any members of the public who want to participate and ask questions or make comments to come forward and do so. If you're going to do that, again, we would ask you to identify yourself by name and address for the record. Once the members of the public have had their opportunity to speak, we'll invite the applicant to come back up and respond to any outstanding issues that might have been brought up by the public and to answer any follow-up questions that either the commission or staff may have. If after that we think we have all the information we need in order to make a decision on the application, we'll close the public hearing, deliberate, and potentially vote on it. If there is additional information or there are open issues or things that need to be fleshed out or worked out, after tonight, we would continue the public hearing to our next meeting, which I think is Wednesday the 21st, I'm guessing. But either way, you'll know as it's going on tonight what's happening. The items that are not public hearing items just basically don't involve hearing from the public, but we will hear from the applicants on those. So the first item is the public hearing, 2167-24Z, Virgins Enterprise LLC, AVA Incorporated LLC, seeking a special permit in accordance with Section 52F of the Wethersfield Zoning Regulations, excuse me, for an event space use at 898 Silas Deane Highway. So if there's somebody who wants to present on behalf of the applicant, please come on up, identify yourself by name and address, and tell us what it is you want to do.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dylan Virgin. This is my partner, Alric Ellis. We're looking to open an event space on 898, Wethersfield Ave. Looking to host mainly corporate events, repass, social gatherings, you name it, for like members of the community, pop-up shops, workshops, and stuff like that. So we did our research and realized that there's not many event spaces or places that people can host events on Wethersfield or even on Silas Deane, so we thought it'd be a good idea to do that.
All right. Could you go over things like, what days, what hours, how many people, that sort of thing? It's in, there's a lot of stuff in your written submission, but just kind of the highlights for members of the public or others who haven't seen.
The main hours of operations for us is really on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But we do, like the pop-up shops, sometimes they'll have on the weekdays. So those are mainly by appointment. So they will give us a call, we'll set up time and make sure that we do have that spot available. But the main hours of operations are on the weekends, mainly from 3 to 12 a.m. We did an analysis of the parking situation and stuff like that, and found that we should be pretty good with that. CT Marketing is one of the places that we realized that aren't open on the weekends, as well as State Farm. So we thought, again, that should be good in our favor.
Okay. Anybody on the commission have questions? Paul?
Liquor permit for serving alcohol, you said that you had like a area that would have water, soda, setups, like a wet bar area. What we're going to do around any type of alcohol beverage?
Right, so if guests did want liquor, we won't serve any liquor. Purchase of any liquor won't be, under our clock. They would have to get a liquor permit, or like a day liquor permit or something like that, and also have a licensed bartender on call.
How many people could you sit there?
So the fire marshal did come by and give us like a rough estimate. We haven't, I haven't sat down with him and actually go over that until after this meeting. Hopefully tomorrow, sometime this week, we can actually have something concrete. But he did say with the square footage, we should be able to host, I believe, 115. So I just did a rough estimate of 80 to 100 just to stay in that safe zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, could we go back to the liquor permit? The same question that Paul said was on my mind. I mean, if you go to a venue for weddings, let's say, right?
Right.
Usually they have liquor permits, right? The establishment allows all that. But this is like a multiple use space, right?
Exactly.
Could be for corporate events, it could be
Seminars.
gatherings, birthday parties for kids, whatever, right?
Yep.
But if somebody wants to come in and wants to put together a full-blown wedding, you'd say fine, right?
Right.
So then they would have to get a bartender,
Yep.
most likely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they would have to buy their own liquor and all that. How, maybe this is not a question for you, Justin, I was trying to understand, how does that work in an establishment like this? I mean, there's going to be consumption of alcohol, and they're going to be bringing it in. Obviously, the place itself doesn't have the permit. Can the bartender get it? I mean, how does it work?
You mean, can the bartender purchase the alcohol, or?
No, the permit. How would it be permitted? Does it need to be permitted? I just don't know the answer to that question.
There are day permits that can be acquired, but those are typically more for like municipalities to acquire.
Right.
In this case, I believe it would just be sort of a BYOB policy. Rich, I don't know if you've dealt with any of this, and
No, I basically had the same question. I mean, I think you get the liquor permit when you're selling it, but I mean, if people are just bringing it to a party, or, if I had a birthday party at my yard, I wouldn't go get a liquor permit.
right. Yeah, that's my understanding with how these event spaces typically work. We've been seeing these, and I say we, meaning previous towns I've worked in, these have been popping up quite a bit lately, these event-type spaces. There hasn't been a lot of event facilities available for people, especially in this size range. And typically, they're governed by a, BYOB policy. In a previous town I worked in, the specific venue did obtain a permit, but that was only because they also had certain, open house hours where they themselves would serve the alcohol. So in this case, it would be really a bring your own policy.
And there's also, there's also insurance that before you try to book with us, you have to obtain insurance. So it will be insurance for liability, of course.
If you have the liquor.
Exactly.
Community center does it, right? Community center, you rent that, you bring all the liquor you want in there if you want, it's no different, right?
I'd have to look into the policies because that's town-owned. I'm not quite sure, but I think so.
So, one other question? The parking in the front obviously is not enough if you have like a full gathering in this place, right? So they would have to definitely park in the back as well as along the sides if those parkings are available and not being taken by the other establishment. But in any case, the people that are parking in the back, how do they get to your place? Do they have to walk up the sides of the building to come in the front, or can you go through the back of the building?
Yes.
And go upstairs in the back? I was there today, and I walked in the back, and the Axe place that door is closed, and there was another door that wasn't open, and then the third door was your marketing place. The other door to the left, did that allow you to go
It
upstairs?
does, exactly, yep, it does.
So people can come in through the back. Will you put signs up so people
Yeah,
know?
we have multiple signs around it, so you know where to park also, and that, you can also have access to the back.
Yeah, and if I may chime in, my name's Ari BG. I was in front of this board before. This is Zach. We're both with the real estate brokerage, working with the property owners. So there are 2 points of ingress and egress. There's a front entrance, a back entrance, and we have an agreement with them and that axe throwing establishment that if these people have the green light from you guys and the property owners to move in the axe throwing establishment, they will move out, therefore providing the extra parking spaces and mitigating congestion.
Well, I'm not addressing the numbers yet. I mean, that's another question. Hopefully someone will bring up the numbers, because if someone else comes in the axe place, then they're going to need parking too.
Part of the agreement is they will be occupying the axe place exclusively as storage. So there won't be, the parking for that space will effectively be 100% used for them, and that space for the axe throwing establishment will be exclusively storage. There won't be a business in there.
Okay, like I said, maybe someone else will address the numbers, but what I was interested in was, I'd hate to see people having to walk up the side to go to your front, especially in snow conditions and rain conditions. So I was hopeful you'd say, yeah, there's going to be an access in the back, and they can come in the back and go up the stairs and go up there.
There is an access in the back. Yep, there's 2 access points, one in the back, one in the front.
All right.
George?
Yeah, I didn't examine it, and you'd think after 50 years of looking at this area and stuff and being in this part of town, I would know it, but, so I'm a little embarrassed. But how do you get from the city spaces that you have up to your parking lot? Can you get up over that? All right, okay.
I'm not quite sure.
So there's a driveway and also a walkway.
Yeah,
that
but you
goes
gotta
from
go
the
out
back.
front to the front sidewalk and then into your lot, right?
So,
Into your building.
if you are you talking about if you're already parked in the
I'm
back?
talking about the city fish parking, okay, along that side, which is your parking car. Okay.
So there's an access point if the customers who park there.
There
there's
is?
Yeah, through the back of the building, and then there's a path on the left that they could walk up
So you
as
go,
well.
it's more down
Sidewalk.
toward the back and then the back side.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
the back of the building
I
also
didn't think
has.
you can get across
an
there
access.
in the front area.
Well, the back of the building has its own access point, which is right
I
there for that
realize that.
parking.
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying, but you can't if you're parked out front on the city.
There's a
It's
walkway
wrong
and a
way.
driveway.
How do you get up to the front of the building?
There's a
There's-
sideway. There's a
Yeah,
sidewalk
there's a
inside.
sidewalk and a
There is the
driveway
one there?
that leads
Okay,
to
I
the
didn't
front
look
and
at
the
it,
back.
and I'm embarrassed
There
to say I
there isn't a
didn't.
sidewalk. I was there today, there isn't a sidewalk.
It's a paved driveway.
There's a blacktop driveway on the left side that you can walk up. And then
Okay,
on
no,
the
but
right
how do you get up to that driveway?
Just walk around the
You
back.
can get up over
Yeah,
it from city?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can-
it's
you can-
for both driving and walking.
I call them the city spaces, even they're
Yeah, no, you
theirs.
can get there, you can walk to it. I
Okay,
mean, it's not very convenient, but you can get to it. And then the
Okay.
other side, the right side, there's the city fish joint parking, and you'd have to walk along the cars to get to the front.
yeah.
But they're saying that in addition to those 2 accesses going up along the side, that if you go in the back door, there's stairs that take you upstairs. I don't see it in your plan, that's why I was really confused.
Yeah, there's stairs, there's interior stairs that lead exclusively to that space. And it's also ADA compliant, there's a wheelchair
And
ramp
people
too.
use them after they've had a few drinks, right?
Yeah, it's a completely safe stairway with hand railing, just like any bar would have, in fact safer.
No,
so-
I don't mean, just.
Yeah, yeah.
little thing, that's all. That's all right. Don't mind me.
Tony and then Dave.
Gentlemen, welcome. It's good to hear you talking about this property again. And can you tell us how
Thank you
many?
for having us today.
What's the maximum occupancy that this individual square footage could hold?
So, yeah, as stated earlier, right now it's about 1,600 square foot that will be used for the main the area. The fire marshal did come by a couple weeks ago and give us a rough estimate of like 115. We're hoping when this is done, in about like a week or two, he can tell us exactly the amount that, after doing his measurements and stuff like that, what the actual amount is.
Okay, and I believe you'll have 2 employees there at each function?
Correct.
At all times?
Yeah.
Okay, so they'll be responsible that way. I guess my question for Justin is, the narrative, anything from the fire marshal and the engineering, any concerns? Mostly focused on lighting outside?
No comments from either fire marshal or the engineer. Once they finally go through, this stage, as they said, the fire marshal will determine their final capacity and do a search for, fire-related
At
issues.
that time?
Right.
I guess that's all. I think everything else was in the documentation. I think it's a very thorough presentation with a lot of detail in the documentation you gave us.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, mine was the same question. I found it as I was reading the details after he said it. You have a capacity of 100 max guests. And I just wondered if the fire marshal had written that off, but you just said he's going to confirm that, because you have 72 chairs, but that's a lot of square footage, and I just want to know how much you were planning to put in there. Okay.
Joe?
Do we have anything in our parking regulations that references how shared parking is supposed to work? I don't remember that, but related, I guess just related to the overall situation, your prime hours are 3 p.m. to midnight on Saturday and Sunday.
Friday.
So on Sunday, I believe City Fish is closed completely, and on Saturday, I don't know if they're open past 5, or they...
Yeah, I think they close around
4 or
6.
5.
Yeah, something like that. So that's a good thing. But is there any kind of formal agreement with City Fish just in terms of how access to those shared spaces works?
No formal agreement as of right now. I know the property line kind of goes a certain, there's like a measurement. I don't know if you want to.
So those spaces technically belong to this property more so than they do City Fish. So if that helps you, they're actually technically belonging to this property, and City Fish has access to them from this property owner.
Right, I mean, I guess just one observation, I don't know whether our regs do we require some minimal amount of parking for a warehouse facility, whether it's 1 per 1,000 or something like that, but I guess going forward, it'll really depend if there's changes in uses within this building, how parking is going to get handled and whether it is maxed out or what flexibility there is. And I guess my final parking-related thing is, for restaurants, is it based on the number of chairs, like 1 per 4, possibly?
Yeah, for restaurants, it's 1 space per 3 table seats, and 1 space per 2 counter seats, and 1 space per 2 employees on the largest shift.
Okay.
So it's a multifaceted.
Joe, are you concerned with parking?
I get,
I mean, with all the parking
right,
back of this building?
Right, I think I'm comfortable with it, George, but I was just sort of trying to
Oh, okay.
understand the overlap and just sort of going forward, other spaces, how they could work.
Well, do we have separate parking calculations for places of assembly?
We do, yes. So places of assembly, which is the calculation they used in here, is 1 space per 4 seats, or 1 parking space for each 50 square feet of gross floor area available to patrons. So in that sense, it does not include their storage area, it includes the 1,600 square feet of, open space for the patrons.
Okay. So how many spaces would it require? I mean, it talks about how many spaces there are, but I don't remember.
I think it's
32.
32 spaces.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, it just struck me as kind of light that you'd only need 32 spaces for 115 people. But
Yeah, it was, I'll be honest with you, I thought the same thing. And then when I looked, it was, based on that square footage calculation instead, so.
okay.
2 per 100, 16 times
All right.
2.
Anyone else have questions? Peter?
Justin, first to you, and then maybe they can address it, or the owner can address it. You made a comment in your review that maybe we need to consider some repairs to the parking lot.
So,
And then you said that that was a requirement of the acts. Can you explain that? Because I wasn't here when the acts was approved. Was there a requirement to fix the parking lot that they never did?
so this was actually Dom's review before I got here.
Oh, okay.
So I inherited it.
I thought it was
from him.
yours.
No, he finished all these reviews because this is day 7 for me. But
You had 7 days.
that's true,
Yeah.
that's true. But I have reviewed it, and I did visit the site today. So the issues with the axe throwing were that the parking was not striped well in the back, and then there were some paving issues. When I was out there today, the parking striping seemed just fine to me. There are some potholes, so I think that Dom's recommendation was that we just encourage the property owner to repair those potholes.
Yeah, I was there today too, and they're big potholes.
Yeah.
And actually, the people that were leaving the marketplace were walking around the potholes because it was lunchtime when I was there. So I was just thinking, my God, when you have people at night with a few drinks in them, they could probably trip on those potholes. So I really do think that it's got to be more than a light recommendation. I think they need to fix the potholes. Otherwise, someone's going to get hurt there.
To clarify your other question, the condition on the axe throwing back in 2019 was that the line striping be repainted and pavement repairs be completed.
That was a condition of approval?
Yes.
And how was that enforced then? It wasn't.
Right. George?
We've talked about this parking lot for the last few years. Goes back a half a dozen or a dozen years. The back parking lot. I still think you ought to do a regular paving job back there. At least on the part that you would feel your patrons would use, or working in conjunction with whoever else owns it back there.
If I may chime in.
And I'm not quite sure who owns what back there.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm saying it, but the patching issues I don't like, and I've seen it for many years. And I'd rather see some kind of decent paving job back there, even if it's just one layer, without ripping it up.
it would go a long way to fix the parking lot if this property was occupied with tenants paying rents. Right now, it's a hardship situation, so the parking lot more or less speaks to, if the property was occupied, I'm sure the parking lot would be fixed, but there's no tenants, no one's paying, the bills, so to speak, so at this point, it's a hardship. We have to get some tenants in there in order to have those repairs to be made.
You have a liability issue that you got to consider. They're really bad. I mean, I was surprised how deep those ruts are. And in the darkness of the night, someone's going to trip. As a minimum, George, they have to
security issue.
fill the potholes as a minimum. Obviously, it'd be nice if they could do the whole thing, but it shouldn't cost that much to fill those potholes. They're huge. I mean, just a truck would take care of all of that. I think you really got to do that.
Anybody else? All right. If not, at this point, I'll open it up. You can take a break. Theoretically, in case there are members of the public who want to comment.
Thank you.
Anyone who wants to speak on this application, please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record. I think somebody was already starting to walk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I jump in front?
You can race.
Barbara D'Amica, 912 Silas Deane Highway. We were contacted by the applicant and asked if they could use our parking, and we said no. We have recently repaved our whole parking lot, so trying to keep it as good as possible, but also just concerned with people using it, leaving garbage, and then sometimes our tenants do come on the weekends, so we don't want to have our parking spaces used. So I'm a little concerned that there's enough parking. I mean, I'm encouraged that they should come in, but have they spoken to City Fish to get approval to use theirs? Because we said no to our parking lot. So that's my concern, that there's not enough parking right behind. They're going to start coming into our space. And
So So you're north, right? You're the building?
No,
South.
she's
I'm
on the
sorry.
corner, yeah.
Right in the corner.
Corner south lot.
Well, they're not counting any of City Fish's spaces toward their requirement.
So even just in the back and in the front, there's enough for
That's what-
100, 115 people?
Yeah, because under the regulations, it requires, what, 36, 35?
32.
And there's that much back there? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just, I guess, I don't know if there could be a sign put up to say, no parking, this is for 912 only. I just envision people coming into our parking
Well,
lot.
if you own 912, you can put up whatever signs you want saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously want to work with your neighbors, but, you have control over the parking in your own property, and you haven't consented to using it as shared spaces for anybody else's application, so, you have the right to exclude them from it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. I just wanted to point that out, that we really don't want people parking in our parking lot. Thank you.
Yeah, since I sat there quite a bit today, just watching the flow of traffic, what I noticed, and I didn't realize this, but what I noticed is that people were coming off of Route 3, crossing over your property now.
Well, they do have a right-of-way to go to City Fish.
Oh, okay, I
There
was
is.
wondering that, because they were going through in front of me
Yeah.
into City Fish, so it was like a throughway. So
There is a
so you have
right-of-way.
they have an easement?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, where the hole in the fence is.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
City
exactly.
Fish is used to, from over, coming up the hill.
Yeah,
And cut through there. I've
I
been
didn't
doing it
realize
for
that.
years. I live in the area, so.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michelle Magnus, and I'm one of the owners of 884 Silas Deane Highway. We have a problem with the parking too. There's a lot of talk about these 16 shared spaces, which we maintain and we take care of, and someone says that they're mainly owned by them. They've never snowplowed them, they've never taken care of them. We have. We're very concerned about the liability issue for us if anyone parks in those 16 spaces or any of the spaces on our property. Who's going to be responsible for that if someone gets hurt? Because the 16 spaces are not the first 8 spaces. They start where the building is and go down. So also, we are open Monday through Saturday from pretty much 8 to 6 at night. Saturdays, we close at 5. This past year, due to the way the holiday fell, we were open on Sunday, so it is not as if we are not open on Sunday, ever. It is just not always. So during that time, we would not want anyone parking in our parking lot. We're busy on Friday, Lent's coming up. We don't have enough extra spaces, and we do have parking all the way. We do have people who walk all the way to the back to park. So that is one of our big concerns. The potholes in their other back parking lot is a concern for us because I took pictures today from our building, and there are at least 6 or 7 parking spaces that are not really you cannot park in back there because the holes are so big. I mean, one hole is almost as big as this podium. They're not like little tiny potholes, so that forces people to then, they're going to want to park on our property. And again, like I said, it's the liability, who's going to be responsible if someone gets hurt. And in fact, to deal with that also, my brother called the town 5 times in the past 3 or 4 months about the garbage and the garbage and the receptacles behind 898 with overflowing garbage and couches and just horribly looking. And if you have that, you're going to attract rodents, possibly, and then that's going to be another reason people do not want to park in the back. So unless the parking issue is resolved, we have a serious, no, we're not. We really don't want to deal with this. Because it's most convenient for them to park in the front of our parking lot, not to park behind the building or on the side of the building. And with regards to the walkway, this past winter, or this past snowstorm, the water coming off of the building caused a sheet of ice in our parking lot. And we were the ones that had to take care of that. We salted it, we made sure. So they talk a lot about these 16 shared spaces, but we are the only ones that maintain them, and have for the past 56 years that we've been here. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Are you looking for them to have dedicated sites just for you and versus?
No,
their
I'm just
parking?
saying that there's a big liability issue. We keep talking about that they're shared, and I really don't know. I tried to look at the plans that my dad had from the last time there was a meeting that he had come, which would have been prior to his passing, but it's very hard to read the plans and see how much is our property and how much is theirs.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just, are you aware of any written agreement that
There are no written
lays-
agreements.
No written agreement?
With us
Yeah.
and the new tenants.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate your concerns, but I guess to the extent that portions of those 16 spaces are on the 898 property, that presents
If we-
potential
if we
liability
took
issues
the-
to them as well.
The thing is, if I took the spaces, because I had asked my dad this many years ago, and we did parallel parking, we could do that, and that's on our property, and then they would have no spaces. The agreement was way back with the owners of Porch and Patio, which goes back 20 years, 30 years, but they were, that was just, like I said, we paint them, we pave it, we've always maintained the entire parking lot. None of that part has ever been anyone, we're the ones, if it's going to be paved, we take care of it. We plow it all winter long, we put salt down. None of that is done by the building next door.
Okay, thank you.
I may just chime in.
Hold on. Anybody else from the public want to speak on this? All right, if not, oh, you do? Okay.
So, good evening, everyone. I'm Camille Hudson. I'm at 8 Westview Drive in Bloomfield. I actually own an event space in West Hartford, Warehouse 635, and these two gentlemen had reached out to me just to get some information on opening a space and, pick my brain a little bit. The business plan that they had sounded very concrete. I just wanted to speak today because I know you all had a lot of questions in regard to parking, the number of people that are going to come in there, alcohol. So I just kind of wanted to share my feedback. I've been in business for about a year and a half now. My space is much larger, it holds about 150 people, but for the most part, I don't think I have that many events that are over 80. So from a parking standpoint, I probably don't use most of my parking spots. I have over 200 spaces in total, not even using half of them. You'll find that majority of people are not coming by themselves. They're coming with 2-3 people in a car, which is probably why you have the 1-to-3 ratio. So there's that. With the alcohol, very similar. It is a BYOB concept, but there are a lot of catering companies that have a liquor permit. So with that, I do typically ask them to provide a copy of that in order to, rectify that situation. In addition, I know he had mentioned with event insurance, you typically want to require every single person to get event insurance. If they're serving alcohol, you would add a liquor liability rider. So in the event there are any issues from a liquor standpoint or any injuries related to, alcohol-related injuries, that would cover that from an insurance standpoint. So like I said, I just wanted to speak to a couple of things that came up. Hopefully that's helpful. But like I said, it definitely co-sign what they're doing. I think Wethersfield could definitely use an event space. We have a lot, just one in West Hartford, a couple east of the river. There haven't really been any that have been opened up here. I think from a community standpoint, people want a space that they can go to host small gatherings, host networking events, host pop-up events for small businesses. It's really a great asset to the community.
Can I ask?
Sure.
Thank you for that information.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get a sense of what basically the activity mix is that you have?
Yeah, so-
Overall and on weekends in particular?
Sure. So for I'm open 7 days a week. During the week, it's predominantly meetings. So I have B&I meetings that are hosted in the space. I have fundraising events that are hosted in the evening during the week, and a lot of charity events. During the weekend, it's predominantly birthdays, baby showers, anniversary parties, things like that. So I would say this year I'm starting to get a lot more charity events as well. So it's a wide variety, but like I said, most people aren't having events with over 100 people. It's just not happening, even if you have the space for it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anyone else in the public want to comment on this application? If not, then I'll invite the applicants to come back up. I know the Realtor was seeking to respond to something, but I kind of wanted to keep this orderly.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond. Although they have been maintaining those parts, which is part of the easement they have for the back, those spots belong to my clients who own 898 Silas Deane. And that can be clearly seen looking at the property card.
And there is no written shared parking agreement even with Porch and Patio, who used to be there
No,
before?
and there doesn't need to be. If you just look, you could easily see my clients own those spots, and but they do have an easement to just the right-of-way through the back to have their
They who-
customers.
City Fish
Yeah,
has an easement through where?
through the back parking lot, just
Right.
for the customers to drive through.
Right.
But those parking spots belong to my clients.
Okay. All right.
I'm not challenging this, but it's not what the plot plan shows. This is why I was really confused. The plot plan shows that about 2/3 of the stripe belongs to them, and 1/3 of the stripe belongs to you. So, to me, it's a really hokey situation, because the property line goes right through the parking spaces. So technically, nobody owns those parking spaces, because if they didn't allow access to you from their side, you would only have 1/3 of a parking space, and you couldn't park there.
And the same goes both ways.
Exactly, so
Yeah.
you have to have a written agreement of an understanding. You can't just get up there and say, it's mine, and they says, we take care of it. We need to see some written agreement that says, you guys have worked this out, because it's really a weird arrangement, and it's not kosher.
Well, my understanding is the parking spots fall within their property line and they start. So even though if the back tail of them ends on,
It's not what's shown in the town plot plans. If this is from the town, that's not what's shown.
well, it does show that part of it is definitely on my client's
I'm not
property.
going to argue the point.
Yeah.
It's just the property line divides the parking spaces.
That is true.
In some
That
way
is
or
true.
the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying, and that's why we kind of reached out. I just reached out to City Fish, hoping to get some form of agreement
That
for
would be
that.
good. That
Right,
would be
right, right.
excellent. I think it helps both of you to work out an arrangement, because it's not very clear the way it's written and shown here.
Absolutely.
Was there anything else that people spoke to that you wanted to address or not?
No,
All right, any other questions from the commission?
Could I just, I hate to be a pain about this.
Too late.
You mentioned hardship, and I mentioned safety, bad, deep holes, and the lady that spoke before, she's correct, some of the holes are so deep that the parking spaces cannot be used, so those aren't technically allowed in the count. So I would like to hear from you guys, or the owner, that you're willing to patch those holes.
Once there's a tenant in, they'll definitely patch the holes. Right now, the property's 70% vacant. Effectively, it's not really making money. It's an extremely struggling asset. So I'm sure, and we could put it in writing, that if they sign the lease and they move in, my clients will definitely patch those holes within that month for sure. And that property is going to look better than ever before, and it's going to be great for the city of Wethersfield.
I appreciate that. 'cause
No,
that
thank
would
you.
be a good thing to
I
do.
appreciate all of your time.
I back him up to some degree, but not you on patching. I don't feel, and I've lived in this same area, and I go down there for the last 70 years, And so I'm very familiar with that pavement. And it needs to be repaved, not patched. Patching is temporary, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know what we'll do as a commission here, but I favor the a paving of a certain area back of this. And not necessarily that whole parking lot back there. It's extensive, and I don't know who owns it all. And I know there are leases the City Fish has going through there and everything else, but, you know, those are my thoughts on it, so we're gonna keep that in mind, and I hope my fellow commissioners are hearing what I'm saying.
Okay. Anyone else have anything they want to ask or say? Do we think we have enough information to act on this application tonight, or is there additional information anybody would need?
I feel good.
All right.
I think all the information Dominic gave was very thorough and very complete. It's a pretty good package, and a lot of questions were asked.
Okay. If that's how everyone feels, would someone like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the hearing's closed. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Does someone want to make a motion on the application itself?
I'll make a motion to approve public hearing 2167 24Z with special permit in accordance with Section 5.2, the Wethersfield Zoning Regulation for event space for 898 Silas Deane Highway, requiring potholes to be patched as requested and extensively discussed, and designated stripe lines be also revisited and approved according to the review of the support staff.
You won't consider paving back there?
Well, let's get it occupied. Let's get a tenant in there. Let's fill up the whole building. To require paving,
We can make a guy pay something? We do that?
that's quite aggressive in my mind.
I'll second that motion.
All right.
No, the one without paving patching.
Yeah, that's the motion, is patching. Were there anything's brought up that anyone wants to make a condition or a stipulation on the application, or just as submitted?
Anything Justin observed from Dominic? 'Cause
No additional things. Dominic only commented on the paving, and
fire marshal, engineer are fine.
yep, they're all fine with it. So basically, if this gets approved tonight, the fire marshal will do his final review to make sure everything is, exit lighting, things like that, safety features. But yeah, I think that the pothole patching sort of fixes the outstanding issue.
How about internal code violations or anything, smoke alarms and detectors and things that will accomplish what they're trying to achieve? Is that,
Yep, so the fire marshal will review that as
that's
well.
all internal?
Yep.
Peter? And then
Go ahead,
Tom.
Tom.
Well, you go first. You're closer.
You closer, so you
Okay. Regarding the patching requirement, the parking lot issue and its condition, it was brought out during the course of the hearing that, basically that had been a requirement for the axe throwers and wasn't carried out. So even if we make it a condition to this approval, are there steps that we can take or language that we can put into the condition that can provide greater assurance that the work will be done? I was thinking possibly have this permit maybe time limited, for a year or 2 years at most, pending the work, to assure that the work gets done by the time they come in for, a petition for renewal of the special permit.
I mean, alternatively, we could have a time frame within which the patching has to occur as a condition, 60 days, 90 days. I mean, it's not pothole patching season. So by June 15th or something like that, just to make sure that it happens, rather than go 2 years and then try to remember that, we had a condition.
Yeah, I'm not concerned so much about, the methodology, just kind of what basically works to get it done, so.
Yeah.
If I could jump in. I think that if we did what the chairman suggested, sort of putting a definitive deadline on it, what we can do is task our zoning enforcement officer with ensuring that that gets done. And if it doesn't get done, it's a violation, that can be pursued further. I'm guessing with the axe throwing, it just slipped through the cracks at some point.
So to do that, would the mover of the motion consent to the motion being modified to place a time requirement for the completion of the patching?
Tom, would you be comfortable if we simply stated that the occupancy will not occur until the patching is completed and the striping of the lines is not completed, subject to the staff town hall? Occupancy will not occur until this is completed.
I guess to Rich's point, is it physically, impossible to do adequate patching that will last when it's 28 degrees outside? Because I guess if that's the case, I'd have some concern. As a practical matter, in terms of the landlord's concern, it seems like by the time somebody actually moves into the space and starts operating, they will already have signed a lease, paid their security deposit and first month's rent, but I'm just afraid we not get caught up in a seasonal thing. So, and in order for the zoning enforcement officer, Justin, to be able to track it, I'm assuming it's better to just pick a date than to say something like within 30 days of occupancy, because that's going to be hard to track.
Yeah, I mean, a date is, there's no arguing a date.
Right.
If we do a timeline, it gets a little bit more vague in terms of, okay, well, when did they sign the lease versus when did they open versus, but I think, my bigger concern would be the seasonality aspect of it right now. I would say, I think in terms of pavement, we would, anything you do right now is not going to last. It's going to just create further issues later on. So, I think springtime.
I kind of think what Rich, our chairman, had indicated sounds most plausible for succeeding. That is putting, a date for this being accomplished. He said, I think June 30th. I could, from my point of view, since this is going to be a new business, there'll be a period of momentum where they build up the business. So if we make it even as late as August 1st or something like that, that would be fine with me, just so that the work gets done in a reasonable time period.
Peter, you seconded the motion?
I second. It's exactly what I had in mind, so you guys are working it out. From a technical point of view, what I would have suggested would be to have, let's say, 90 days from this approval. That should be enough, because I think the blacktop companies open up probably, in April sometime?
Why don't we make it May 1st?
Yeah. And then you got to give them some time to get the blacktop there and pour it in. So, maybe May 1st would be fine.
May 1st? I'll amend my motion to accept May 1st. Peter, second?
Second.
George.
I'll be voting against this motion on the basis I think I've seen this area. I've used it for many years. I told you how long already. Don't have to repeat it. And I probably will continue for a while yet, even at my age. And I would like to see it more permanently paved, at least the section behind the building. I mean, what they are concerned with particularly. And so I will be voting against this motion on that one basis alone.
All right.
Comment, Richard, on that voting?
It's the applicant's
Trying to talk to us after the hearing is closed?
It's closed.
Oh, it's close. I just was going to propose to everybody after September 1st. So that's the deadline to give them enough time to arrange for that.
We'll take that under advisement, but I think there's already a motion.
Okay, thank you.
I guess as I listen to this, it's exciting to see some young entrepreneurs looking to open up a new business. And I think it's great we're talking about this because it's going to help them open it in a safe environment, right? You don't want to open up and have your first guest fall in the hole. I guess whatever can balance the safety and helping them get the business open sooner would probably be the best way to take a look at this.
Yeah, I don't think we were talking about holding up their ability to, go in, do work, and start holding events until after the potholes had been filled. I think we were trying to parallel track it with a relatively short fuse on the patching because, things tend to slip. And
I'm disturbed that it did slip, that it went this long after we had the axe throwing discussion, and then things have not been maintained by the landlord, by the property owner, who's creating the monster, not us.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really serve much purpose to kind
It
of
doesn't.
allocate blame, but I mean,
Agreed. Well,
if you have a
before it's
building
again.
that has car-sized potholes in the back, you shouldn't be shocked to find that people don't want to rent there.
Agreed.
I think there has to be a sense of urgency to fix what's back there. And I've done paving, it's not the end of the world. It's not, patching up those big potholes should not be that difficult. Really shouldn't.
I guess I'll just add, my concern is, we don't know how much work they have to do or when they're expecting to open, whether it's April 1st or August 1st, but I would want to avoid a situation where they're in operation for 4 months without having done this. So let me just ask this question. Whatever timing we pick, if in fact they haven't even signed the lease or they haven't finished the renovations and they're not really going to open until a month after the date we chose or something like that, would that possibly be just sort of an administrative amendment without having to go through a whole public hearing, I would think, maybe? And they could come back and explain that if it happens?
Yeah, I mean, and at that point, you would be in the midst of an enforcement action, which is a discretionary process rather than a regulatory process.
Are you comfortable with May 1st?
Yes.
Yeah, on May 1st, I'll just say, again, depending on how cold it is, how late into the spring and stuff, is it, do you want to give them
It's
till
usually,
the middle of May or?
Well, that's why I said
End of May?
June 15th when I said,
Yeah, I would
pick a date.
I would be comfortable with June 1, June 15, either of those.
if you guys are uncomfortable, an alternative would be like 90 days after they occupy the space. That's certainly going to be okay.
Right, I think it makes sense from their being able to do it, but Ryan did say that's going to be hard perhaps for the zoning enforcement officer to keep track of. Justin, sorry, what did I say? I'm not even sure what I said. Hope I'm not on tape.
You're being broadcast in North America.
Yeah, I think that gives them, then it coincides with what they're really doing, but the problem is going to keep track.
He's going to know when they occupy the space, right? Because he'll get a CO. So from the day of the CO, 90 days after that, they should patch those holes. That'll give them plenty of time. You willing to change it to 90 days after they get their CO?
Yes, I'm fine with that, too. It's all subject to the occupancy. I think that's
All right,
a priority.
let's stop while we have apparent agreement on something.
Okay, got it? Yep.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
George?
I'm going to say no.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, congratulations. All right, second item, application 216824Z, O.R Enterprise LLC, seeking a site plan approval in accordance with Section 52D2 of the Wethersfield Zoning Regulations for a personal service establishment with 4,000 square feet of gross floor area at 898 Silas Deane Highway.
Hi, good afternoon, panel. My name is Amelia Robinson. I'm looking to occupy 4,000 square foot of the 898 Silas Deane Highway property. I'm looking to put in a salon suites. The best way I could explain what that is something as far as renting out 10 by 10 rooms to individual beauticians, estheticians, or even individual members that would like to rent that room for either office spaces and so forth. With that, we will provide a common area that is used to either for washing, for the use of washing hair, doing pedicures, manicures, and also within their own specific rooms, they would also have that option to do so as well.
You're contemplating Monday through Sunday, 24 hours by appointment only?
Correct, yes.
Does that mean people
Seems
can
a
come
lot.
at night, at 12 o'clock at night?
Yes, because these buildings will be these businesses be ran individually by their owners. So meaning, as you're a barber, you have your own LLC, you run and operate your own business. Meaning you also make your own hours. So the building will be accessible 24 hours. So if you have a late client or a last minute client that needs to get done, you always have access to the building. The building will also be ran with specific, each member will have their own individual code to enter the building. So we have 24-hour access for whenever your clients are in need of service being done.
Rich, could
Yeah.
Justin, let me ask a question. How do you figure out parking for something like this?
Yep.
Because it seems to be like, who knows who's going to be in there and doing what?
So for our standards, we have for retail or service establishments, which just falls under, it's 5 spaces for 1,000 square feet. So this being 4,000 square feet, it requires 20 parking spaces.
All right, so it'll be a total of 16 rooms. So at max, we will have 16 to 20 estheticians or beauticians in that could occupy the space if we're fully occupied. If we are, plus their individuals, at any given time, the probability of all 16 rooms being occupied plus their individuals is very slim to none. I've also been doing a lot of research. We have a few that's also similar and close by. We have 520 in Rocky Hill that's recently just opened up. We have Briari that opened up in Newington, that's also similar concept, very similar in business. We have bigger names like Sola Salon, Phoenix Salon, and Salon JC that's in West Hartford. So a lot of these are in Glastonbury, West Hartford. The business plan is not new, but very new to to Wethersfield itself.
So what would the limitations be on what kind of uses can go in there?
So the limitations, there's no limitations as of right now. I have spoken to the health department. There's no limitations. So as far as any beauticians that, or just say you're a therapist and you want to rent out a space, you could also rent it out as well. So there's no limitations as far
I
as
asked
who.
the question wrong, I'm sorry. What would the businesses be that can rent those spaces? What is the universe of potential tenants of the spaces?
Yeah, so that's what, there's no limit to who can rent out the space. So if, it could be multiple different businesses. So a hairdresser, a barber, a nail tech, a masseuse, there could be all different businesses in all 16 different suites. So let's say we have majority of, like, let's say, my perfect example is Briari. The majority of their suites are ran and operated by hairdressers that does different things. Or it could be hairdressers that do multiple of the same thing. So we could do hairdressers that specialize in just hair dyeing, hairdressers that do braid, do natural hairs, but there's no specific on who could be in what room. So it could be multiple different businesses within occupying those spaces.
But it's going to be all that kind of activity. You're not going to have a dentist in there and a tattoo artist and things like that.
Or a lawyer.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So it's funny you say that because in Glastonbury, there's a Phoenix salon there. The dentist's office that recently closed down, I forgot what it's called. They were occupying spaces in that salon as well. But remind you, there were different individuals that were in there as well, hairdressers, barber, and then that dental spaces as well. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I was asking is that, among other things, that the use and the parking calculations are based on, kind of personal services, which, it's a broadly defined term, but it excludes certain things like, professional services. I mean, you're not going to have, you wouldn't have, somebody cutting hair in one room and somebody doing taxes in the next one, and giving tattoos and, fortune telling and.
Might.
Well,
I mean, I would think it would be anything but food, right?
Right.
You're not going to have food.
No food.
I mean, you have different parking requirements for lots
No,
of,
I'm saying what she's looking at, I think we want to make sure it's exclude food, but beyond that, I mean, you don't want an ice cream shop in there, right? Like, you can't.
No, there would be no use of food, like selling of food or anything like that. There would be no food or businesses in that facility.
Retail, clothing,
Retail clothing, so if you own a small boutique and you wanted to put it in there, yeah, you could. Remind you, the spaces are only 10 by 10, so it's not going to be a storefront.
Right,
You're not going to have a storefront, but like a small boutique, like you sell Wethersfield T-shirts or hoodies, and it's accessible and it's easier for them to come to the small space to pick it up or to look at the different options that you sell. Yes, then you'll be able to rent out that space and use it for that reason.
Rich, what I was going to say, I was thinking along the same track that you were going down, or you did go down. It's a personal service business, so all the 20 spaces that you're allowed because of your business are tied to personal services. So the question is, how do we ensure that who goes in there is a personal service provider? Could there ever be any situation, I think that's what Rich was trying to get to, that, you intensify the use of this space by the type of people you put in there that aren't quite doing personal services, but are doing little pockets of something different, which may require more parking. That's the concern I had. I'm not sure how to better,
yeah, I mean, I thought I understood it, but I doubt it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Peter started going to a concern that I was at. So if I read this back, it's a cool idea, right? You're really doing sort of retail infrastructure as a service. That's really what this is, right?
Correct.
And instead of limiting it to health, beauty, and wellness, you're saying it's this venue where an entrepreneur or a business person could get a 10 by 10 space. And you'll have centralized stuff that would sort of support more of the beauty and wellness stuff. I thought I heard like a common area for hair washing and stuff like that. One challenge I would have is if you end up having one of the businesses be a very high traffic business. So for example, if I'm doing buying and selling off Amazon and I'm using it as a pickup spot or fulfillment center for my stuff, that's very different than periodically having clients come into the 10 by 10 space for a haircut. That would be my concern there, is that one of the businesses in there would be a high traffic transactional driver in the space. And the 24 hours is a little concerning too. Well, I mean, conceptually, it's a good idea.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I would add, I had some concerns about the 24-hour. I don't think we have anything in our zoning regs that talk about that, but I think that's within our
Where's the concern? Guy has a key, wants to go into his office for 10 o'clock at night.
I don't know. I think it has everything
Well,
to
and
do
the
with
parking lots would have to be lit and signage would have to
safety,
be lit.
3 o'clock in the morning
They
and
have to
so
do
forth.
that, though, right, yeah.
Right, but I just think it's something to think about. And I guess the other thing is if there's 16 chairs with 16 hairdressers or barbers and 16 clients, that could be 32 people at the ultra max, which I know she said is unlikely to hit, but, I think we have to be comfortable that that's all going to work as well.
Right, at the same time, they're having an event at the venue next door.
Right. So that's why the 24 hours sort of adds, to that mix. I'm not sure if they end up getting 10 people in at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday when the venue place is in.
I could clear that as well. Excuse me. So majority I do have potential candidates that's also looking to rent out the spaces once if this business does go into the space. Majority of these hairdressers are typically 9 to 5. Barbers as well. I have 2 barber candidates. They're typically that 9 to 5 aspect. We're just giving them that option to, if they want to occupy the space beyond their business hours, they are able to. But on most cases, business barbershops are typically 6, 7 p.m. the latest. Most of them are open. But it's more so the business aspect of it. We're giving them the option of if they need or they have later clients that needs to come in for any after-hours service, they are able to do that. Or if they need to clean their businesses after that 5 o'clock, they're still able to do it. Or whatever they need to do, they're still able to access the business for whatever reason.
Does your typical operator work on Sundays at all?
No, not many service individuals work on Sunday or Monday. They typically have those days off. So those are pretty quiet days for the service field.
So, just to think about this point, I understand that you want to have access to the facilities for people who actually run the business. They want to restock, and they can't get there till 11 o'clock at night. So, yeah, if they own their own building, they would just go in, right? So you want to have that. But to say that it's going to be a 24-hour service business is a different story. Is that what you're saying? Because a 24-hour service business means that people could actually run services at night. And we couldn't say anything about it. I mean, there'd be cars out there, there'd be noise out there potentially in the middle of the night because services are going on. So are you wanting a 24-hour service business, or are you just trying to say, look, whoever has equipment in there ought to be able to get in? I understand that, but that's not a 24-hour service business. What are you trying to say exactly?
Right. So because it's basically a two-way business service. I'm basically a landlord of that business is what the whole concept is. My business, me as a landlord, I give them access to the building 24 hours. They have their own hours of operation. So like I said, with most hairdressers, barbershop, they have their already set hours that they work. Majority of hairdressers, barbers, masseurs, they don't work past that 6, 7, 5 o'clock range. However, no, I'm not influencing them to stay later or open their businesses later because, like I said, they operate their own business, they run their own time. However, if they need to, they are able to go in and probably pop a customer in if the customer needs a last-minute hair situation. But no, it won't, and it's not more so a lot of loud noise or anything like that because there are individual services going on. Not more so like a regular barbershop where you have multiple people sitting in one chair, or there'll be one person within that one room with their service member.
So would it be okay with you if we said after 10 o'clock, no more services, but anybody can access the building that has equipment in there and needs to do stocking or inventory or whatever? Sure, that's fine. As a landlord, you can always allow them that access, but they can't run their operation after 10 o'clock at night.
You're saying, would that be okay with my business?
Yes.
I can look into that. Like I said, I've done research with other beauty salon suites that's opened up recently, and they all have that 24-hour access. Like I said, one just opened up less than a month ago, right in Rocky Hill, less than 7 minutes away, and they already have that 24-hour aspect in place. I could definitely do my research and see how that would affect my clients as far as like marketing and sales and so forth. But I could definitely look into that. Since 10 p.m. is not a late ask, but if we're looking at other businesses that exact same model, they have that 24-hour. And it's not so much me putting 24-hour doesn't change their business idea of what they have planned. Most hairdressers not saying I'm available for you 24 hours. So it's more so me telling them they could always be there whenever they need to.
Tony?
So you'll be the landlord. You're asking us to approve these 10-foot by 10-foot cubicles.
Yes.
What if I walked in and wanted a 10 by 20? Would you be modifying that?
No. No, the space is set as it is. We do have two 20 by 20 you guys will see on the back end. Those are the only two 20 by 20. But once the spaces build out is completed, that's what the spaces will stay as.
So once the build-outs are done, they're done?
They're done. There's
Does it
no,
include plumbing, electricity?
correct, including plumbing.
Barbershop would need half a dozen outlets anyway, with the chairs.
Yep.
The beautician, those chairs, will they be, have water in each cubicle, each plumbing area?
Not within the 14 cubicles that are up front. The two larger ones in the back, and then, like I said, there'll be a shared space that will have the plumbing in the back.
So you as the landlord will be doing the leasehold improvements, you'll be renovating and updating those with a building permit. Some of those chairs and plumbing and electrical can be quite costly,
Yes.
so you're ready to step up and put those into place.
Yes, I've already occupied funding for this business plan. So funding's already in. I already had GCs that came by, architect that came by, and already started doing as far as looking into it. And
You've done that preliminary work already?
well, they haven't started the work, but they have come by to the building and they have looked quite a few times.
Yeah, I could verify. She had plumbers, electricians, our architects come by, general contractors, and they looked at the specs and they gave her a good idea of what
And
she
you've already given us examples of what this would look like with approvals in other towns.
Yes, correct.
Okay, on the plan, there's, I think, 2 rooms that are labeled large suites, one of them with a closet. What would those be used for?
So those would be used for the same use. So if someone, it's just giving them different options. They believe that a 20 by 20 is will fit their business need. They could rent it out a larger suite versus a 10 by 10 suite.
And what's the shared space?
The shared space, that's where they could wash their hair, do all the plumbing.
So is there any potential that one of the 16 operators could have somebody in the chair while somebody is waiting, or while their next customer is waiting, or do they only do one on premises at a time?
Yes, so it's typically one on premises at a time. With salon suites, they go more, 99% are done by appointments only. So they block off their appointments, say they're doing they do it for 2 hours, so that 2 hour that patient is being, or that individual is being catered to.
Okay, I like the idea that, 24 hours, but would that mean the landlord or someone would have to keep the lights on in front of the building so that people can come in and park? And then the other question I had was signage. Will it just be like one street address, or will there be 20 little signs, that people could read? I've seen places where, there's a sign at the street, and there's all these little signs that you try to read as you go by.
Yeah.
But how would the signage be? Would it be just interior signage?
We are looking to do, actually, the last person that came by was a sign guy, and we're looking to do a sign over the entrance of the building, and as well as the front near the street. There is currently open spots, so we are able to put our business names and those signage as well. So we have 2 sign areas that we could put business.
Or would the signs list every 20 people, or just?
So it has a space for 3, for the individual people,
Yeah.
then no.
Okay.
So for that, when you walk into the building, it will be an electronic like TV that list out every business that's within the space and what room they are in. So yes, it will be a directory, electronic directory.
And then if I rent a space, the only way I can fit it out is to bring my furniture in and my casework.
I'm sorry, I keep.
Say I'm a renter, and I'm a person who needs desks and chairs. Do I bring my own furniture in, and then, or
Yeah,
I'm trying
so
to figure out? It's a beauty salon,
yeah.
but each barber chair everyone has their own idea of their own barber chair,
Yeah.
their own casework. Are they allowed to bring that in and install it?
I will be providing for barbers and hairdressers specifically. My business is mainly focused on estheticians, beauticians, hairdressers, and barbers in specific. So I do provide barber chair, hairdressing chair, and their work area as well. So that will be included in your suite.
So you're leasing fitted out areas, okay?
Yes, the fitted with the furniture is included.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Sure.
So just to note here, the applicant's applying under Section D of 5.2, which is retail and service establishments. So everything like a salon, barber, everything like that, or even a small retail space would fit under this approval. If they were to want to do something like a medical, like a dentist or something, that falls into a different section of the regulations, and it's a different parking requirement. So you just have to be specific with what we're approving tonight.
And is retail the same, is parking for retail the same as parking for personal services
Yes,
based on square footage?
correct.
Okay, thanks. All right, Tom?
I'm not exactly sure how to phrase this, because it's essentially the same issue that's been posed to you before. And we're kind of going, I think much of our decision is based upon information that you can give us from your experience in this type of business. So you'll have, X number of cubicles, and, there's been concern expressed about it being a 24-hour timeline, but from what you said, it seems like the occupancy level is going to go way down after 6 or 7 p.m. Every night. So can you give us an idea of what the occupancy rate might be, say at 11 p.m. and 12 p.m.? What that kind of estimates of occupancy level you would have at that point in time?
Right. So at 11 p.m., I would probably say maximum probably 4 people on site. The likelihood of a hairdresser wanting to be there at 11 p.m. is not likely. Majority, if not all, beauticians, if they're staying late, like I said, I've been in this field for a while, if they're staying late, it's because of a one-off situation. It's not because I'm open, my schedule is open, or my operating hours are until 11 p.m. It's because someone, hey, I'm actually going out of town tomorrow, last minute, can I get my hair done, this type of situation. Same thing with the barber, or, they have their set hours, and it's not that they'll be there late. So probably like 4, maybe at max. I'll be surprised if 6 people are operating after 11 p.m.
Okay. And if at some point during the day, everything's occupied, how many people would be there?
If we do the math, if at max, what we could fit is at 16 times 2. That would be a max. I can't imagine that being the case. Like I said, I've done a lot of research walking around and visiting different salon suites. The bigger name ones, Phoenix and Sola, half of their suites are not even occupied when I go there. And I try to go there, and I've been to those multiple times. And I go there typically around the 12 o'clock lunchtime area. During the week, too, it's not so busy compared to and most of the times it's like on a weekend, it's between that 12 and 4 p.m., 5 p.m. time period as well.
So what I hear you saying is, even at the most intensive time of occupancy, only about 50% of the cubicles would be occupied. And late at night kind of thing, you know, the occupancy rate goes down to, you're saying, you know, four to six people total. That include the proprietor, the business, plus the customer?
Correct.
And that's maximum of about 6 people?
Right, so that's probably about 3 businesses after 11 PM I could see, and that's very rare, not every night. 3 businesses being open after 11 PM. Like I said, I could only imagine that happening probably once a month, if even 3 people. And just to put it in motion, I also ran a company similar to this in Georgia. So it's the same thing I'm doing somewhere, coming from Georgia to Connecticut. It's night and day. Even in Georgia at 11 PM, we don't even have 3-4 people operating at that time. And remind you, salon suites are in every corner in Georgia compared to Connecticut.
Okay, so you've got a total number of cubicles of how many again?
A total of 16. And they're rooms, not cubicles, more so. So when you think of it, it's more so closed off on the top and on the sides also with soundproof on each corner.
Okay, but they're basically 60 workspaces then?
16.
16?
16, yes.
16.
16, yes.
So at the most, there's 16. Occasionally, late at night, that would be reduced down to a maximum of about 3, based
3 or
upon your
4, yeah.
experience.
To 1, 2, I can't imagine more than 3, 4 people operating after 11 PM. And that's very rare, like I stated, that would happen.
All right. But, no, I was asking that, trying to be as definitive as possible to grant some degree of reassurance to the issues that's been raised.
Yes, absolutely.
George?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the town planner and so forth. Is this site well lighted, front and back, for nighttime activity?
You know, I have to be honest, I haven't seen it at night, so I can't fully comment.
That's why I was wondering. I didn't either, so I wondered.
Do you happen to know the lighting for the site?
Yes, it has a light that's permanently on for the front and back parking lot.
How about the back? 'Cause you
Yes,
got-
yes, there's a light.
Not that at night you're gonna have a lot of people from the back, but you're not gonna have that.
Yeah,
many.
it's completely lit front and back.
Mostly the front, okay. Building 2, yeah, you're okay out there, I think. Okay.
Any other questions from anybody up here?
I have one question. This is for the landlord. If, or whoever, with the State Farm, the banquet area, the beauty salon, the axe throwing location, is all the space rented in the building? That's possible?
Yeah, if these 2 tenants are approved,
Okay,
yes, and the
it's-
axe throwing place will be leaving. So
Okay.
they're going to be gone.
Okay, because there's that side stair that goes to the basement. I assume that's not part of her area. Any of the basement space doesn't belong to her.
The axe throwing place is in the basement, and they are going to use it for storage exclusively.
Okay.
And that's going to be in the lease.
If I could address it to you, with the Realtor as representing the owner. So this is a general question, not specifically. You've done a great job. I'm okay with what you've done. The only thing that is kind of resonating to me as we talk through this, and there's 2 businesses that could potentially be, I hope, very successful, so that, you know, it would fill up the space and you would have a lot of people, is a spillage of parking over into the adjacent owners. And there's been some concerns stated tonight by the adjacent owners that they have a fear that in your success comes their problem, because, you know, people will spill over into their areas. You know, once you fix a parking lot, that'll help, of course, but if it's very successful, I could foresee you're kind of at the limit. In my calculation, if it's a successful business, you're just at the hairy limit of being able to take the traffic that will come in and out of there. So what could you possibly commit to as an owner to make sure that their property is protected and your cars for your businesses don't spill over into their spaces, being north and south of you?
Yeah, so there's 2 things I would propose that would work in a situation like this. The first being that within the lease, they will restrict these businesses and say they have to be on top of their clients to make sure they park in appropriate spots. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, once they move in, the axe throwing place is moving out. So that's going to substantially reduce traffic and parking. And that place will be in the lease that they're exclusively going to use it for storage. So nothing else is going to go in there, and that parking will be all free and clear for the new tenants.
Well, those are good steps, but in the event that that's insufficient, would the owner then consider putting some barriers up so people stay within the confines of your property and doesn't spill over into their properties?
Would you guys be willing to put up some barriers if parking situations get out of control? Like cones would work, or permanent cones, something like that.
As a tenant, they can do that. Because we, as a landlord, we're not going to do it every time. If these people, they can put the bedding at the during the after hours, they can take it off, and when during the hours, they will go.
Okay, we could make it a stipulation of the lease that if there's any parking issues, the tenants will have to do that.
All right, it's going to be tricky. The pass-through is not going to be a problem. That's not the issue. The issue is the actual parking spaces that you have would be insufficient so that people may spill over into adjacent parking. And that can be cordoned off with some sort of barriers. So that's something in the future. I just want to put that on record that you'd be open to dealing with that problem if it arises. It may not, but if you're very successful, who knows? Joe?
Thank you. I was just, I don't think you can, Peter, I don't see how you can put barriers on the north side, because won't that block access to those 16 spaces that are straddling the property line?
Yeah, no, on that side, you're right. It's the other side that
Okay.
you could do something, yeah.
Okay, and then just to follow up, when you said the downstairs storage only would be part of the lease, is that going to be part of this business's lease, that they'll use it for storage? Or would that be a third party yet to be determined?
This business and the previous business are both going to be using it as
Together,
storage.
the whole
Yes.
space? Okay.
Can I ask Peter, were you thinking of a designated parking approval for each tenant, assuming they all become very successful? Or is that
I'm
something?
just concerned, I mean, it's something
I
that,
think for the record, it's good to have it on the record
Yeah,
of
that's
your
all.
concern anyway on it, but I don't think it needs to be part of a,
no, I don't think we can stipulate something like that at this point, you know, but if they're very successful, who knows? We may be having another discussion on how to keep City Fish whole and the neighbors of the North whole
That's
with all the
right.
traffic that they have.
if I could ask Justin if is there any other observations? He did mention that this is a personal services establishment. Is that sufficient to put in a type of a language? Or do you need more language than that?
Yeah, no, if we call it, that the section that they applied under was retail store or personal service establishment, so I think that would fit. It would just mean that they couldn't have any medical uses or anything like that.
I guess while the hearing is open, I'll raise this, whether this is a situation where we would either want to consider, I know this can get tricky, a term, or perhaps just the ability, once things are operating for some period of time, to confirm that there aren't any issues with parking and retain our ability to adjust if needed, if there does prove to be issues with parking.
How would you phrase that?
Well, I mean, one way we've done it in the past on outdoor dining stuff, I guess, is just to put a period on it, although if it's anything more than a year, that's not going to get us much, because it would go on for a really long time with a problem. But can we, is there any way to, just as a condition of approval, without limiting the term, to just say, I don't know, we want to report back from staff on how the parking is working, or something along those lines? You know, Rich, if you have, you may say that's not a good thing to try to build in, but is it? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I guess we could have something like, a year from now, staff and the applicant will confer to discuss how how the shared parking arrangements have been working, and have there been, any complaints from the neighbors, and if so, we reserve the right to, put additional conditions on the approval.
And I guess I, for one, think that could at least give us all a little bit more comfort that if something really happens that's negative, we can still try to deal with it.
I think that would be a good thing if it's proper to do so, yeah.
The only caution I would put on that is this is a site plan application, not a special permit, so we have less leeway.
I assumed it was
No, this is,
assuming it was a special permit.
no, this is just site plan. So I would caution against putting a time limit. I think what we could do is sort of what the chairman suggested about putting, setting up a discussion among staff just to make sure everything's moving smoothly, and that way, we could try to work out any issues. But I would hesitate to have it come back here if it was already approved, because it's, if it's a site plan use, it's by right if it meets the regulations. So.
But we're not sure it meets the regulations, depending on how much activity they have.
Well, based on the parking calculations, it does meet the regulations right now for what they're proposing. So it's somewhat limiting in what we can condition this upon later on.
If you look at the map and everything else, it seems to me that these guys are providing parking for everybody else. Not, everybody else is imposing on them. Put a wall up on both sides, see what everybody, my point is, I understand it's a parking problem, but you guys in the middle of it, you really have all of it. Everybody else is going through you. So, if we're going to have a meeting, I think all you guys need to get together to see how to make it work. 'Cause it seems to me, you put two walls up and everybody in that area's got a problem other than you. Except you can't get around, you can still get around the back. I don't know, it's just not them because they're last. That's what I'm trying to say. It's, to be fair, it's not them because they're last.
You're right, but that whole area is a problem.
No, I'm with you, but just because there's last showing up, it's not their problem.
Well, this is the only time we can comment on a potential problem now. We're looking at the situation, and we're becoming aware of it.
Shut all the neighbors down too first. So the point is, they're trying to start a business, which they have a right to do, and they just happen to be last, and they can solve their problem. The parking's somewhat of a problem, I'm with you, but again, they're not the problem, everybody else needs them, I think, more than...
Well, to me, I don't know. I guess part of it is I think our regs are designed at the 5 per thousand, maybe for a more conventional type of retail or personal services. This is very densely packed, so it seems like we don't know exactly how it would work. But if I guess another way to talk about this is if this applicant were agreeable to us putting something in along the lines that Rich, articulated a few minutes ago, then, with their agreement, aren't we, in better position at that point, I think, right? So is that something you'd be comfortable with, that, let's just pick a number for now, whether it's a number or not, but, 12 months out, we would just, through staff, perhaps examine, hopefully things are working great, you're doing well, there is no parking issue, but if there were a parking issue, then we'd want to work with you to talk about adjustments, if adjustments are needed.
I guess I'll leave that over to the landlord themselves and see how we could work around that as far as parking goes. It's not something more so that I would. But for my business, if you're speaking of specifically my business, like I said, I've worked in the business, the field, for quite a few years now. I don't see it, especially with the time period that I'll be open. It's just me and State Farm that will potentially be in that, occupying those spaces. That's 76 spaces. So it's not a lot of parking issues that could come about around my busy hours. But as far as, I don't mind coming back to it, but if that's something that would then negatively impact my business or the lease that I signed with the landlords, I would also want them to chime in on this as well.
Right, I think to me, maybe the time that we would be most focused on might be 3 o'clock on a Saturday when the event facility is in operation with you being at a peak Saturday operating time, and that might be one of the periods of greatest potential. But, I don't know, I guess I throw that out there, and I'm going to maybe raise what Peter did again before, which is, I fully understand, I think probably all tenants have, quote, access, as Peter explained, to any property to go in, organize their files, clean up, bring in supplies, whatever they want to do. But, I guess I would be more comfortable, even what Peter suggested, if it's 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. or whatever. But I think, again, I guess this is not a special permit, the other one was, but just the having 24-hour operation of businesses up and down the Silas Deane Highway, to me, can bring up issues of its own. So again, on a site plan review, I guess we have to decide if that's something that we can address or not.
If you don't mind me chiming in, what we could do as far as like the business hours, if that's what we're discussing, I don't mind if we keep it as what it is, and then in a couple months, if we revise it and say, hey, the 24-hour doesn't work, or it's not conducive to the parking situation, what else can we do? I'm also open to that as well.
You said after hours, someone would have a code, the owners would have a code.
Correct.
But during, say, 7 to 6, there wouldn't be a code, it'd be open.
There'll still be a code, yeah.
No, if a guy wants to get his haircut, he has to get a code to get into the building?
So each individual, it's like an intercom. So if you go to
He
certain,
pushes the button and says, can I come in?
correct. Yeah, so push the button to whoever you're going to, and they let you in via their app or.
Well, I was just thinking maybe after 8 o'clock at night, you shut the intercom down to 10 o'clock at night. So the owner can go in, but nobody else. If the owner wants to go and do paperwork or clean his rugs, he can go in, but he can't have, cut hair after 10. I'm just trying to think how to do it, but, so the guy pushes a button to get to his customer.
With respect to the issues that Joe was trying to raise, I think probably it might be more appropriate, appropriate's the wrong term. It might be more efficient to have staff give us a report on the operation in, say, 6 months from now or something like that, because I think the staff would have their finger more on the pulse than trying to require, the owner or the operator to come in, after a year or so. I didn't think there are going to be some problems. It's going to be before the end of that year, especially since this is a site plan approval, not special use permit situation. So there's, I think the level of control that we've got over this is fairly limited. If the site plan meets all the regulatory requirements, I tend to think there's more of an obliged responsibility on our part to approve it, and if there is a problem, then the problem might be in our regulations, and we might have to look at modifying our regulations. The issue of whether or not there's going to be a problem with the operation about what's going to be personal service or not. If this meets our current definition, we're stuck with what the current definition is. And if we need to modify what that meaning is, then this would be a good test situation for us determining how to modify the regulations rather than create barriers to the initiation of this business.
I'm just going to restate. I started this discussion by bringing up a concern because I wanted it to go on record that if they're very successful, this whole area may potentially be a sore point as far as the parking. But I agree with you, Tom. I mean, this is a matter of right. And, you know, I don't think we should impede what these people want to do. I think they got good business sense and good business plan, so that's fine. But I just want to go on record that if something happens, would the owner be amenable to consider some solution by working with the neighbors? I think he said yes. I heard you say yes. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with leaving it at that.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I think the only issue that anyone has with parking is that they have to walk more than 20 feet to their destination.
There you go. Chairman, I agree. This is the most wide-open parking situation in the town and next door to, you know, and I've lived there for 60, 70, and it's no problem to have parking around there. I'm more concerned with the pavement, as I expressed earlier in the meeting, than I am with the issue of not having enough parking around there for anybody. I don't think the businesses you have are going to stir up that much parking. I don't know why we're talking about it so much. Because of the fact that there's parking already there in the area, and I've never seen it congested in there, no matter who's around.
All right, anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is not a public hearing. Does anybody have any discussion or want to make a motion to start discussion?
I'll make a motion seeking a site plan approval to approve application 2168-24Z
Second.
in accordance with section 52D2, permitted use, and as Justin said, retail store or personal service establishment for 4,000 square feet of gross area at 898 Silas Deane Highway.
Second.
All right. Does anyone want to float any conditions out there?
Is it necessary to restate patching of the holes, or have we adequately covered that with the other business? We don't know which one opens first, I guess.
I think that's understood already. I don't think we need it here. It's already been said, but I think maybe to have staff come back 6 months from now to give us an update
Yeah,
might be included within the motion.
Makes
and
sense.
I was going to think about that too, yeah.
Why can't we just verbalize that to the town planner? We expect them back in 6 months.
Put it in the form of the motion.
Oh,
We
you
can
wanna
send
make
it
it- Okay. You don't trust him?
Don't know.
We don't even know.
Give him a break. He's only been here a week.
He could be lousy at his job, we don't know.
It's a test case.
Give him time.
Yeah, we'll have Dominic back before summer.
Oh, boy.
I know there was some conversation about a limitation on the hours. Does somebody want to propose that, or?
I was hoping that someone would add that, George.
No?
No, I think 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock.
Why do we have to put a limit on it?
24 hours? I just don't think that's
Well,
appropriate.
Say
11 o'clock?
What if you had a law firm?
What do you think we are, in Old Wethersfield? We need to put a 10 o'clock in?
We don't have a law firm. We have people doing hair and nails, and I think 11 o'clock is fine. That's what I think. But it's not part of the motion, so.
I don't think
Oh,
we
go
need it.
ahead, yeah.
Not- For my part, I'm not concerned about it being a 24-hour operation, because from the available testimony that we had, anything that's going on after 11 o'clock is going to be so minimal that nobody's going to notice it anyway.
What the hell's gonna be
So it's
there?
not going to present a problem. So we're trying to solve a problem that's not a problem.
So as long as it's part of the minutes, we can acknowledge what it is, what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, they're not proposing a truck stop. I
Right.
mean, you know, if they're third shift workers who want to get a haircut or get their nails done,
Exactly.
they should be able to.
Move the question, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else from anybody? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, congratulations. Next item is signature authorization of Justin LaFountain, the town planner, to sign notices on behalf of the commission. Someone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Do we have to?
No, we don't, but it would be more convenient if we did.
George, did you second the motion?
Oh, Justin, I gotta give you a
Peter
hard
did?
time, you know that. You want me to come down to town hall and give you a hard time, or?
Well, we could have you sign the notices if you
Take him up to his house. Was there a second amongst
Second.
all this jocularity?
Peter seconded.
All right.
Oh, okay. I got it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Minutes of January 3rd, 2024.
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
All right. Motion by George, second by Joe. Did anybody have any comments on them?
I actually read them and I didn't.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Staff report?
So I just want to say hi, sort of introduce myself. I'm Justin LaFountain. I know a lot of you from my last stint here as zoning enforcement officer, but it's nice to meet all the new faces and to see all of you again. I really just have one update at this point. Last night, the town council approved the bid for FHI Studios to complete the Plan of Conservation Development and the Affordable Housing Plan. POCD is a 10-year plan that we're a year overdue with, and Affordable Housing Plan is a new requirement from the state that we're 2 years overdue with. So we're finally going to get moving on those.
Who's the consultant again?
FHI Studios, they used to be Fitzgerald and Halliday. They rebranded.
Yeah, well, who?
FHI Studios.
Where are they at?
They have 3 offices. One is in Glastonbury, one is in New York, and I think one's in Philadelphia or something.
Justin, when do you think we'll start then?
So next steps are they're preparing a contract that our finance department will then review and confirm. Once we get all that signed, it'll be pretty soon. So the one thing I want you guys to be thinking about in the meantime is the POCD subcommittee. Usually that involves 1 or 2 members from this group and then 1 or 2 members from, the other boards and commissions in town as well. So, be thinking of who might want to be on that, who might want to take some lead there, and, we can discuss that more as we move along. But that's really all I have for now.
Yeah, and if you do have interest in participating in that, let Justin know. Public comments? Next item, 8.1, letter from Frank Satino, 248 Knott Street.
Good evening.
Hey, Frank.
I'll try and make this short and brief.
Thank you, Frank.
Now, you have a full house, and I've never seen a full house, so I only have 9 copies.
We're here to get you,
Don't mind
Frank,
sharing.
tonight.
Was it what we already have?
No, with a bunch of questions, dispelling some other information. So this is all, there's nothing new. This is all stuff that's been discussed. So what
The
I'd
house
like to
hasn't
do, if I
fallen
may-
down yet.
Pardon?
Your house hasn't fallen down yet. No, it hasn't.
Don't mind sharing, John.
We're not recording
Chairman's
that.
own
It's yours.
Well, I thought it was going to be yours, but there's 2 different documents there.
You're busy.
Wait a minute, Frank, hold on, come here for a minute. What do you got?
Looks like there's 2 different documents here.
There it
so-
is.
Okay,
Yes.
so this is one packet shared by,
you
to
got
share
one.
between the both of us.
Oh, I see.
I didn't know that.
He doesn't have that name?
My wife grew up with bunches falling down, I said,
So from Dick there. The double. Okay, so this is basically his review of submissions and telling him what needs to be done to correct it. So those 4 items. And a bunch of emails.
So Frank Satino, 387 Rose Road, for 248 Knott Street.
Oh, listen there.
First and foremost, I want to thank the commission. This is not an issue that I have with the commission. We've met informally. You gave your time. We had extensive dialogue, reviewed multiple And I threw multiple projects at you, and the feedback was fantastic, and we came up with a plan. I compromised every single step of the way, and I tried to abide by the process that is in place, and the regulations that are in place, and the stipulations that were set. I originally came to, I'm going to do some brief history, I'm going to be quick. I originally came to this board wanting to build 4 properties. And the commission said, we can't stop you. You meet all the requirements. But after having dialogue and listening to the concerns, I went down to 3. That's tens of thousands of dollars that I gave up. But I did it because it was best for the project. Then I come before the commission, prior for the 3, I wanted the 4 lots, and I was short 2 feet. They said, we can't give you 2 feet. You're short 2 feet to do an additional 2-family. I had no problem. But then the town came to me. And the town said, it's 5 feet, by the way, not 10 feet of the property. We want 5 feet of your property to improve Knott Street and Wethersfield Road. Before developing any plan whatsoever, I spent several hours on several school days, morning and afternoon, and I wanted to see the intersection where I was building. And I saw the congestion. I said, Derek, no problem, you got the 5 feet. It's yours. But what do? I now no longer meet my front setback, my front yard, the frontage. Don't worry about it, we can move the line and give you an easement on the sidewalk. So I wanted 2 feet, I can't get it. The town finds 5, I'm short, but they find to make it work. I'm not complaining, but I want you to understand the compromises that I've made, and then you'll understand when I get to the end what I'm asking for. We approved this back in 2022 for the 3 lots, with the stipulation that I reversed the parking. I'm not obligated to reverse the parking. I'm happy to reverse the parking. I want a happy neighbor. I reversed the parking. When that approval was completed and the Mylars were prepared, no one asked that I redraw those Mylars to show the parking being switched. It was a verbal stipulation that parking not be allowed on the north side of the property. No problem. Now we're going to move to the present. And I want to ask that you watch a 6-minute clip of this commission back on November 21st. And that's going to support my claim. I'm asking for relief from the administrative requirements that are being made of me. Because there are several. I purchased 2 lots, A and B. For the 3 homes that I wanted to build, I didn't even need to come before the commission. 1 lot stood alone. I simply needed to divide the 2nd lot. An administrative decision was made, you can't do that. No problem. $12,000 later, let me go through the process. I don't want to make any waves. No problem, I'll go through the process. $12,000 later, I go before the commission, I've got my 3 lots. But now I'm being asked to make more compromises. Gentlemen, at some point, it's only $1,000, but it's the time I'm going to lose. And now I want to build. This commission approved in November with the stipulation, once again, I reversed the lots. Verbally, never asked for the drawings to be redone. They weren't required from the get-go. So I'm going to save a lot of time and just get right to it.
What are they asking you?
I'll show you in a second. The surveyor, Carmen Giuliano, prior to doing anything, responded to Derek's memo on November 15th. November 27th. Hi, Derek. Please see the attached final plans that address the last comments. No wetlands on Site 2. This is reflected in the drawings, the Mylars. Per our conversation, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that he had a conversation with Derek. Per our conversation, I am replacing only the cover sheet which has the new start date and finish dates from July 22nd to April 24th, I apologize, July 22nd and through April of 26 to finish the project. That's all that was required. The DEC responded, no comments, but check with the rest of the staff, make sure there's no issues. Now, this was sent to everyone involved in the process. What do I receive on January 23rd? From Dominic. And I went to see Dominic. I was polite, but I wasn't happy. I received this with 6 items he's requesting, none of which are required. The big one is
Who's that from?
Dominic, the prior planning. He wants page 1 redrawn to show the revision. There is no revision. The plans have not changed. From a legal perspective, that prior approval is null and void. It no longer exists. We simply took those documents as they were, removed the prior notice dated from 2022, and inserted the new notice from 2023. As far as this commission is concerned, when the statement was made, we have new members of the board, they're not familiar. You're having drawings that we prepared in 2022. There's no expiration date at the time, none that I know of. And we put the approval letter for 2023. Those are your drawings. There are no revisions. But Carmen wants page 1 redone, page 3 redone, page 4 redone, page 5 redone, page 6 redone, page 7 redone. When all is said and done, almost $700 in copy fees for the Mylars. And it's not the $700. It's the time that I lose. My surveyors in Florida, the engineers in Connecticut have to mail the documents back and forth. I want to get these things started by April. None of this is required. This is an administrative, arbitrary request made by the planning department. None of this is legally required. Carmen says, well, you know, Frank, I just want to be safe because what if somebody doesn't look at all 7 pages? Or they don't see the first page and they go to page so-and-so and, or they can put, Carmen, each and every document is an integral part of the process, part of the application. And planning needs to approve, once these Mylars are filed, they're basically garbage. And I say that because I now need to have the property, the same surveyor that did the documents will go and resurvey the property. And there's a GPS, some sort of guidance system, Justin.
Why's he got to do that?
No, you have to resurvey each individual lot.
Yeah,
You have to survey each individual lot, you have to put the markers. And when I submit that survey for each individual lot, I have to, A, be sure to adhere by all the zoning regulations, which we will. B, the most northern lot, it's stipulated by this commission, and I agreed, that the parking cannot go on the northern side. Now, somebody makes a boo-boo and approves parking on the northern side, shame on them. I'm building this. I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm old school gentleman. I still do work on a handshake. And I understand we have to have the legal aspects. I'm looking for relief from what's being requested here. I've met all the applications requested and stipulated by this commission. None of this makes any sense. It's not the $1,000. It's the time that I'm going to lose. The commission's responsibility is, and please don't be offended, I'm not trying to tell you your job, is to establish the metes and bounds. What happens within those metes and bounds is not your responsibility. It's Justin's responsibility to make sure that I meet the requirements of the zoning regulations that are set forth. And if I don't meet those requirements with what I propose on each and individual survey, or if I deviate from what's been approved in the subdivision map, guess where I have to go? I have to come back here again. I don't want to do that. I'm happy with what I have. But I've made so many concessions. We've worked so well together. Again, my issue is not with this commission. It's with the administrative process. Enough is enough. I'd like to play a 6-minute video which will support everything that I've just said. Nowhere in the 6-minute video.
Aren't these minor issues that you gotta put on the plans that the staff has asked you to do?
But they're, in terms of minor,
What is the problem?
all the drawings have to be redone, which was never
And
stipulated.
you gotta file, and so that's.
Oh, no. The minors were submitted to be filed.
You file them already.
No, we can't file the minors.
Well, then why can't you make these changes?
It's the time that we lose, and they're not required. No, this was never required by the commission. It's not, I had 4 stipulations that were requested by this board, and I'd like to play a 6-minute video, and we had the conversation. Verbiage.
Why can't you do these things without a big problem?
It's time, and it's not time, it's principle. I'm done jumping through the hoops, John.
Well,
I'm done jumping through the hoops. When does it end?
do you think you want to argue with the bureaucracy?
No, yes, absolutely yes.
To become principal?
Absolutely. When I've given, they say you can never beat City Hall. When I've given what I've given, and it's a record. When I've given what I've given, it's time to start building.
What happens when you get into construction and they have to go along with you on things?
In terms
The
of?
staff, and you're plaguing them with not wanting to meet a few requirements on your plans? Technical stuff?
This plan was approved November 21st.
Yeah?
The email between Derek and the surveyor/engineer took place on November 27th. If somebody said to me November 28th, November 29th, November 30th, November 1st, Frank, we need these changes. Carmen saw all of this. I went to see Carmen.
Now, this came too late.
This came on January 23rd.
Too late.
January 23rd this came, gentlemen. Not during that review process.
Frank, I don't want to excuse the town staff, but you're dealing with bureaucracy, remember?
I'm done.
Why don't you just get on with making the changes?
No, gentlemen, that's not fair. That's not fair. If they came January 23rd, I want to start building in April. I'm going to miss the market again. I'll miss the market, gentlemen.
Because you can't file.
I can't file. And that's an arbitrary administrative decision. How can I prove it's arbitrary? Because on the first approval, none of this was required.
When did you receive this?
January 23rd. But gentlemen, this was approved. It's null and void. But this was approved in April of 22. None of this was required. That's proof in the pudding that this is arbitrary. This is not required. This is someone who just said, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you, gentlemen. Carmen and I did not get along. But when I don't like somebody, I tell them. I say, Carmen, and I say, Dominic, I have a problem with you. I have a problem with the way you do
Hey,
business.
Frank, are you trying to get the town staff mad at you?
No, I'm the most transparent. Electricians 40 years, plumbers 30 years, sheetrockers 15 years. I get along with everyone. Why? Because I am totally upfront, 100%. So when I went to see Dominic, and I tried to file the Mylars the very first time, submitted the Mylars, but the chairman didn't finish signing. No problem. When you get them signed, you call me, I'll come and I'll file. Dominic's Frank. Your 90 days are up. You gotta do the process all over again. Are you sure, Carmen? Yeah. Carmen, this is state statutes. I got 90 days from the time the chairman signs the documents. It's in the state statutes. Nah.
Can we
All right,
change
no problem.
the 90 days?
No. But the point is, if you look at the letter sent to me for the 2022 approval, I took full responsibility, and I still take that responsibility. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. I take full responsibility. But let's have a dialogue here. The 2022 approval, no one ever said to me, Frank, they got to be done in 90 days. No one. The notice that I received for the approval of this commission, never said file in 90 days. I had an email from Denise back in March or in May, Frank, when are you going to have a chance to do this? I'm so busy, I promise I'll get in there. Nobody ever said 90 days is running up. Nobody ever said, hey, Frank, let's get an extension. Nothing. Nothing. Now look at the approval letter that I got for our last meeting. Within 90 days. So, I'm constantly being penalized, and I'm asking to take, I call my grandchildren's ice cream money. I'm constantly asked to take money out of my pocket and my time for arbitrary decisions made by someone else. Enough is enough, gentlemen. Now I'm going to come here, I don't want to be adversarial. I'm a little upset. I just want to start building. I sit and I watch what takes place here tonight. You got 16 spaces, that's 16 employees, 16 customers, that's 32 parking spaces. They got 20. I don't say a darn thing, but they're going to open. I want to build 3 beautiful homes. You asked for 2 parking spaces, I gave you 6. Why? Because I don't want people parking on the street. I've gone above and beyond. I've met everything that was asked of me. I'm told by Justin, I was told by Dominic and Lynn, that this commission has the authority to say, let this man file his Mylars. That's all I'm asking. I'd like you to watch a 6-minute video if you don't mind. And that's the basis for my...
Hey, guys, why don't we just give them the benefit of the doubt and just move on with this? I'm ready to do it.
It's out of my hands now.
I mean, this is all trivial.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it.
Super trivial. We're arguing for nothing. Super
Jim, this was
trivial.
not required in 2022.
It's just,
What do we vote on?
we allow them to proceed without making these changes. That's all.
We're meeting all your stipulations.
I don't recall that.
I'm not asking for relief from any of the...
I'm still trying to figure why we need bylaws.
Well, the Myers is a very long-lasting document that's found in the town clerk. It'll be there for 1,000 years.
So what?
I mean, these things become permanent record, and someone wants the dates to be consistent from sheet to sheet, and they lay out these 7 requirements.
I wouldn't even bother with the video. Let's forget the video. 6 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, my only question is, I'm looking at the approval letter that says what the terms and conditions of the
Correct.
approval were dated November 29th, 2023.
Yes.
And it seems like a lot of those are the ones that you're now saying.
No, I've met every one. Revisions when appropriate. We made no revisions. As far as this commission is concerned, the documents I submitted, you've seen for the first time. We've made no revisions. None. Not a one. So there's no reason to put a revision.
So you don't want to do any of these?
No.
Oh.
It's the time that I lose. I won't have these back for a month. That takes me into the end of February. Then I need to do the individual surveys. That takes me until the end of March, the middle of April. It's a very complicated, there's a GPS, something that they use. When I did the survey for my daughter's house, the man had to go to Glastonbury to take some sort of measurements, he told me. Gee, what's the, GPS something, you know what it is, but I don't. It's a very complicated survey, it's not easily done. Then when that's done, and only when I have them in my possession, can I pull the building permit. And when I pull the building permit, and I get along with Steve very well. Steve is like me. Steve is very transparent, and I like Steve. You know where you stand with Steve. I know when I pull those permits, they're short on site. It's going to be 30, 45 days before I get a permit to build. I know that. And I'm not complaining about it. This is what it is. I'm a builder. I deal with that all day long. I do all state work. So I'm just dealing with the reality, with the facts. It's not the $1,000, it's the time that I lose. And the fact that I didn't have that until January 23rd. As a matter of fact, it came registered mail, and that really pissed me off. How about, hey Frank, it's Dominic. I got your Mylars. If you want to come in, we'll have a quick conversation. I lost 5 days, or 4 days, whatever it was that day. I'm old school, gentlemen. I don't text, I don't do Facebook, I pick up the phone, have a conversation
Why
with
are you gonna
you.
mail these things? I'm missing that point.
It is the bureaucracy. Here's the challenge today, gentlemen.
It's engineered.
We live in such a litigious society
It's engineered
that
before.
nobody wants to make a decision. Nobody. Everybody passes the buck. That's the world we live in. No coolioons anymore. Nobody's got the guts to say, hey, this is the way you do it, go for it. That's just the reality of life. I understand that. But gentlemen, I've met every single one of your requirements. I'm not asking for relief from anything. I'm asking that those arbitrary requests being made of me not be required.
I have a question for Justin. Are all of the conditions specified in the November 29th approval letter reflected on the Mylars to the extent necessary? And is the current approval letter on the Mylars?
Is it the current approval letter on the
Yes,
Mylar?
it is.
Yeah, because I think he replaced sheet 1, if I'm
The
correct.
only thing that's not reflected, my understanding is, he's not gonna change the Mylars to show the driveway, but he knows it's a
I
condition.
asked him the question. I know you're saying what he said. That's why I'm asking him.
So the two things, there are really three things that have not been changed. One is the location of the parking area. One is the project completion date, so that's a 5-year term. So that, in the Mylars that we have, is dated 2027. It should be 2028, it gives you the extra year, that kind of thing. And then the other
I
thing
want
is...
the extra year.
And then the other thing is the revision dates, just that stamp on the bottom. So those are really what we're talking about here.
So now the question is, are the revision dates required if the documents haven't been revised? They have not
Well,
been
there
revised.
wouldn't be any revision dates if they haven't been revised.
Correct. They're asking for revision dates for something that hasn't been revised. Now, if these were documents, if I came to this board yesterday and you reviewed a set of documents, and you said, Frank, by the way, we'll approve your plan, provided you make change A, B, and C. Now I have to revise the drawings that you have before you because they want to reflect the changes that you have made. That's not the case. I presented a set of documents to you from a legal perspective. It's the first time you've seen those documents. You've asked for no changes to those documents. You asked for verbiage stipulating, and it's in that section in the video, stipulating the parking would be reversed. There was extensive dialogue regarding that. The parking would be reversed. Parking would be reversed. It's in the cover letter on page 1. It's the first thing you're going to see when you read that cover letter. It's in there. I've met every requirement made. What's here now, again, I'll reiterate, is arbitrary, was not required in 2022. That means in 2022, Mr. Smith is sitting at the desk, I want jelly on my sandwich. And in 2023, Joseph's sitting at the desk, I don't like jelly, I want fluff and butter. One of the regulations set forth in the code, and one of the stipulations set forth by this commission, that's all that matters. I don't care if he likes fluff and butter or jelly. That's not in the regulations, gentlemen. I adhere to the regulations and the stipulations that were set forth.
Why can't we change the dates? Just to start with that. Is there a reason we just say these updates have to be done at project completion? So you know it doesn't affect your timetable.
In terms of, do I have to redo the Mylars?
No, you said they need to be redone by one of your projects by project completion. So
It's not required, but it's not
He has to file
required.
the Mylars.
And I have to file the Mylars. I have to file the
Under the
Mylars.
law, he has to file the Mylars within 90 days of...
Or I need to go for an extension,
Yeah.
State law, not our law.
state law. And the state law also says I had 90 days from the time the commissioner, gentlemen, again, if I'm an adversary, I apologize, I'm the nicest guy you'll ever meet. I'm transparent, but I'm a nice guy. The 90-day period from the time this was approved in 2022, and Derek and the engineer and everybody else finally got their hands on the drawings, it was well past the 90 days. That administrative process ate up those 90 days. And no one ever said, Frank, we got to do an extension. No one. I'm okay with it. Again, ignorance of the law is no excuse. I took full responsibility, and I maintain that. But gentlemen, I've met every requirement, I've met every requirement. If you want to watch that 6-minute video, it speaks for itself. I've learned a long time, if you're going to have an argument with somebody, let them speak. If you are right, they will talk themselves into a hole.
So what you asking us just to throw this away then? That's the letter, the item, 6 items.
No, that's the letter from Dominic. No. The letter from the 29th, the approval by this commission, that stands. The letter from Dominic, that belongs in the men's restroom.
No, I just said, so he wants to throw it away.
That's garbage. I met those requirements. I met them.
The only thing that bothers me, if you throw this away though, the Mylars won't show the parking lot change. I really don't care about that.
They don't have to.
Is the Mylar been changed?
It's item 1 in this.
Mylar hasn't been changed on the Mylars.
No.
That's my point. At the 100 years from now, some commission will look at it and say the parking lot's on the wrong side.
No.
This letter is,
Before I can build,
Yeah?
I need to, before I can build, this commission sets forth the rules and the regulations by which I can now proceed to build my project. My surveyor and my engineer now have to do a new drawing for Lot 1, individual for Lot 1, an individual drawing for Lot 2, an individual drawing for Lot 3. Now, or in 1,000 years, I think this expires after 5, I believe. It has to be completed in 5 years? Right. Within a 5-year period.
because you don't want to pay.
Oh, yeah, 4 years. Within a 4-year period, if that property is not completed, null and void again, or the property can only be approved with the parking lot on the south side. Those are the stipulations set forth. And in that 6-minute video, we spoke of verbiage. How can we verbalize? How can we be sure? It's in your 6-minute video if you want to watch it. The Mylars the approval by this commission is for one purpose only, to approve the meets and bounds. That's it. That's all you have. That's the only legal right you have. And then you can set stipulations, such as the parking, such as repairing the pavement. But what I put on that property, as long as I meet the meets and bounds and I adhere to your stipulations, I can build the house and put it pink with purple polka dots, which I wouldn't, gentlemen. But I can. I've met your requirements. I want to start building in April. I won't if I have to redo this. There's too much involved before I start building.
Mr. Chairman, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the issue here, and I've seen a variety of Mylars in my 40-plus year career being clarified with attachments of the letter, which focuses on changes and amendments. Is that the issue we have here, to accept a Mylar with the revised letter stating that the parking lot is modified based on the approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission?
And that is part of the approval letter. It's already on there.
The letter itself is something we are considering versus
Right.
telling Frank that the statement from Dominic is required, period. Those are the two issues here. Am I right with that? Because I have seen Mylars modified based on a letter, not with the meets and bounds, but with the changes of a house site, let's say.
The house...
The house might be positioned.
The
in a different
subdivision...
position. Am I wrong with that?
Well, on our subdivision Mylars and maps, all you do is basically show that you can build the house and where it would be and where the setbacks are.
Right.
Whether the parking is on the north side or the south side isn't a subdivision regulation issue, but we approved it with a condition. That condition is set forth in the November 29th letter,
Exactly.
which is going to be physically included within the Mylar, so that, he gets his 3 lots, and somebody reading the letter says, hey, wait a minute, lot 1, you've got to build this way.
So you agree with him then?
Which is what this commission asked.
And what I was trying to confirm through Justin was that all of the items that are specified in our approval letter are reflected on the Mylars. And the question was, there were no revisions, so we don't have to update the revision dates. Yeah, that's on there. Right. signed and sealed by a licensed surveyor. There's no wetlands on the property. And that, you know, ideally, you would change the completion dates on the, you know, to reflect this.
Parking lot on the wrong side, most drawings, so
Yes.
that's the problem.
Yeah, but he could build the house, he could build the houses in completely different orientations too.
But the
Because
letter,
all this is
So
the
So
subdivision.
you're agreeing with him, let's just forget about this letter.
We're not forgetting about it, it's striped on page one of the Mylar. I think the question is.
No, we're talking,
Right.
he's talking about
The letter from
ignore Dominic's letter.
Ignore Dominic's letter, let him go ahead.
And what I've been struggling to accomplish here is to confirm that everything that we had in our approval letter
Exactly.
is adequately shown on the Mylars, notwithstanding Dominic's letter that he wanted to make some
If we
changes.
believe him, he said that's the case, right?
That is the
I
case.
wanted to hear it from,
Hearing this,
Justin.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so essentially you're right, there are no revision dates until the revisions happen. So if the revision for the parking lot doesn't happen, there's no revision there. The other revision dates would be once you amend the expiration date of the permit. But, you know, that's, in a long-term situation, that's kind of small potatoes, so.
Well, I mean, he's just hurting himself basically by not,
Exactly.
I mean, you know, frankly, the statute gives you the expiration date regardless of what's on the Mylars. It's just, you know, somebody wanting to buy one of these houses may get confused by, you know, what's the revision date?
Well, one of them
Why
is
is
mine,
it-
one is my daughter's.
Well, they may get
I'm sure you
banks.
sell that house.
so our issue is to say that we're satisfied based on the way the Mylars are inclusive of the letter, and we recommend putting aside Dominic's observations. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we can do that. I mean, the fact that the letter, the November 29th letter that contains the conditions that we cared about
We
is on
approved,
here
right.
and will be enforced when the lots are developed is
Is where we're at right now.
where we want to
Either
be.
we accept or we don't.
Right.
And I know it's secondary, but once the houses are built, will you have as-built at that time?
We have to do a foundation as-built.
Right.
So the moment the foundation is poured,
Yep.
before I can continue, I have to show a foundation as-built, exactly what's where.
So all said and done, 2 years from now, everything will be on print.
Yes, it's stipulated, I believe it's stipulated, or it's in the drawings that, I believe it's stipulated. We're doing paver driveways, we're not doing blacktop. One of the primary concerns, well, there's two concerns. A, I don't like blacktop. And B, they're impervious, so the water will soak into the ground as opposed to running down to the neighbors. And by the way, I took a look at that woman's property for her trees. We're nowhere near her trees. If anyone recalls that conversation about the canopy in the room.
Let's stay let's stay on task.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that, I'm
That's
sorry.
fine, let's stay on task, Mr. Chairman. I think that's what we said. If Justin's comfortable knowing we satisfied the letter and the statements that were dated, and they're in the Mylar, I recommend we put aside Dominic's observations. Do we vote on this? Is it something that would satisfy statutory obligation? That's my question.
I think it would be a case of just authorizing me to sign the Mylars, you know, notwithstanding Dominic's letter based on the fact that,
Just signing off on the Mylars, period.
based on the conversation we had
Can I
today.
make that as a motion?
Go ahead.
I'd like to make that as a motion.
And I'll second it.
You can second in case we get in trouble.
All right. You still own a business I don't, so I'll second it.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Okay.
My grandchildren, thank you. I'll buy them ice cream tomorrow. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Justin, I'll stop and see you tomorrow. I'm out of town. I probably won't be till Monday.
when are you gonna build?
I'm gonna start right away. So as soon as his mileage are filed, the moment they're filed, they go to MDC.
I'm not gonna
From
sign-
MDC, they'll go straight to the surveyor, and we're gonna build.
You're not gonna what?
I'm not gonna sign him for 90 days.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Okay,
Good luck.
All right.
take care.
We got the,
Building official.
we have the quarterly newsletter of the Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies. Mark your calendar for March 28th for the
What are they gonna have? They didn't tell us.
ziti, broccoli,
I don't mean a meal.
Airbnb.
Think I go there for that meal?
Airbnb regulations.
I hardly go there for the speeches given, or the presentations.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask about the accessory dwelling units? Will that be something as part of the housing analysis that'll be done, or the RFP, or is it separate from the 10-year master plan?
So what specifically do you mean about the ADUs? Like the regulations we currently have? Okay, so the affordable housing plan will look at that and make recommendations as to where we stand, if they're too strict, if they're not strict enough, that kind of thing.
Okay. I also, if I can,
Yeah.
I want to compliment Pete Lambruni at the State of the Town meeting. There were a handful of us there, including Joe, and the questions were asked about the 10-year master plan, and Pete reflected back about 200 or 300 years ago when we looked and analyzed the Silas Deane Highway, calling it a town center, I believe is the terms you use, and those past discussions included rotaries and cross signals and modifications and big changes, but
And
I
he
mentioned...
made a presentation?
He did, and it was
Like he
complimented.
lived back 300 years ago?
Georgia was complimented with the mayor and I think Joe, our economic development coordinator, and talking about the importance of public presentation and having the public involved with the 10-year master plan. Okay. And one other thing I want to
By the
observe.
way, I had two people call me, said they want to get involved, so that's good.
Yep, I think so too.
Said, get in touch with you.
Yep.
I said,
I think you're going to get another email too, if you haven't already.
I did tonight.
Okay, perfect.
I also want to mention, that one of my neighbors was concerned about a zone over at Greenfield School on the parking lot at Greenfield Pool, at the Willard Pool. There's a variety of up to 10 or 12 heavy-duty commercial trucks. And just as I signed the petition, I would like to, just for the minutes, give this over to Justin to have him review and maybe give us an update on the status of all those trucks.
What are they, the Asplin trucks?
Yes.
Okay.
The neighbors are just up at arms. The diesel engines are starting up at 5 or 6 in the morning, and they were doing some repairs on this.
These are your old neighbors?
This is my old neighbors, but we're all neighbors, George, no matter where we are in Tidal
Is that because it's used as a staging?
They rely on you.
Yeah, the staging area, but the neighbors are saying
Yeah, they're all-
it has been rejected to the town manager, so maybe if I can request that Justin just review that.
They're all getting haircuts in their trucks.
That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for allowing me to have the floor.
Sure. Anybody else have anything?
When Dominic was here, brought to his attention, since I had some mothers complain, the crosswalk from Charles over to, what's the building across from it? The old academy. There's a crosswalk there, but there's a curb still, and they never took the curb out. And some mother was there with pushing the baby carriage, had a hard time getting over that curb, had to go down to someone's driveway. So they know me, and they came to me and says, can we do something about that in the town? Can we have a real ramp there so it's easier for us to go from the Charles over? I brought that to his attention. He says he was going to act on it. I don't know if he did, so I just bring it to your attention.
Sure, I'll talk to the town engineer, see where it stands.
All right. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion by Joe, second by George. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Yeah. Be here until tomorrow.
So I had
Zoning